call upon your name. You've been my friend, in whom I can depend on. Yeah, keep your loving arms around me. When I'm in need, you're never too busy. I can call upon your name. You've been my friend. You won't let me down. You're somebody I can depend on. Yeah, yeah. Keep your loving arms around me. Come on and hold me. Hold me. Hold me. Hold me. When the storms of life are raging, and the billows
Thank you, the fabulous Glide Ensemble. Good evening. It is my honor to welcome you all this evening to this profound event where our First Lady brings to us her global vision for a national village. A vision to save our nation's children. She comes to this place, Glide Church, where we have attempted to enact being a village. And it is my pleasure to introduce the spiritual visionary, the man who has worked for 33 years to create this place, who has stretched his compassion beyond all boundaries so that all children, men and women of every hue, class, ethnicity, sexual orientation, age, gender, and circumstance can come and be nurtured and flourish, whose unconditional love leads us through our spiritual wastelands and embraces all who are marginalized, all who feel outcast or in need of a home. A man who has just returned from Dallas, who has set ablaze the Bible Belt. And who has left behind him a few burning bushes. He's also my husband, y'all. He welcomes all of us equally to this feasting table in this village where all tribes can gather and celebrate our diversity, our common humanity, our hope, and our movement to save our children. Reverend Cecil Williams.
We've got two women preachers here tonight, Hilary and Janice. We're going to be set aflame tonight. We're going to leave from here on fire. Thank you, Janice. I am delighted to have the privilege to open my arms to all of you, but I'm also very moved by the most recent election here in our city. Where all of those who were in opposition to Willie Brown did everything they could to find some kind of story that would dehumanize and take away from him winning the election. But Willie came out of Mineola, Texas. Don't you know that? And when you come out of Mineola, Texas, you ready for anything. Here's a man who is smart. He's a statesman. He is a great politician. He is a human being who cares about all of us. He's one who is witty and smart and even got a few jokes to tell. But the important thing is we now have a manager. We now have a spokesperson. We now have a mayor of this city that's going to make it what it should have been years ago. May I present to you Willie Brown.
Cecil, Jan, I will only take a minute because I came to welcome the First Lady of America. To the village which you have given me the responsibility to head. And it's kind of fun. About 8 or 9 days ago, word went forward that I was going to Washington, and I got a call from the Clintons inviting me to come and live at their house for my stay in Washington, knowing that each of you anticipate that I would want to personally experience every quality of life and living condition that our citizens in this city are exposed to, and knowing that the President and Mrs. Clinton live in public housing. I thought it appropriate on your behalf to accept that invitation. I accepted that invitation, frankly, with great joy and excitement. I was given the option of which room that I could reside in, and I debated seriously not exercising the option until I actually got there. I knew that there was always a possibility of people inventorying the contents of the room. And on your behalf, I wasn't about to leave there without taking some evidence of the fact that I'd been there. What a, frankly, a great honor and a delightful experience to have spent time in the residence, and then to have the President interrupt his morning, and he spent far more time, I suspect, than he actually had. But we started to talk, and two Southern boys talking to each other, one-upsing each other. And, I mean, it was incredible. I really enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, I had to ask to leave. Now, that's from not being asked to leave. And you know, normally when you get invited like that, you take some relatives with you so they too can see it. But I didn't even take any relatives with me. I did go out and buy one of those little disposable cameras so that I could take a picture of everything. And when I got there about 1 o'clock in the morning, and the President and family had already gone to bed because I'd been out kind of late. And I realized that I was there by myself with this little camera. And there was no way. So I took all the pictures I could take, and then I went in the bathroom and put on the robe that said the White House. And you know it's legitimate because from the reflections it's backwards. I must tell you that in all of my years of being in politics and hanging out, there are two occasions when I've had an opportunity to really just chat with people in the world of governmental officialdom. I had the great pleasure on two occasions of spending time with the First Lady, and now this one occasion with the President, and on each of those times, there is no better chance, no better opportunity, no better occasion for just pure, unadulterated, serious, focused, human, concerned dialogue with talented, gifted, intellectually superior, committed people than my exposure to the Clintons. I am indeed grateful. And so, Madam First Lady, as the head of this village, I welcome you to San Francisco, and I particularly welcome you to the family of Glide.
I see Congresswoman Pelosi here. Stand up. Stand up, Nancy. Willie Brown's other co-chair of his campaign, Henry Berman, and I were the co-chairs of Willie Brown's campaign. Stand up, Henry. Here's a man. Sally. Stand up, Sally. I could go on, but it's time. Some years ago, when the president and the first lady were on the campaign trail so that they could be called the president and the first lady, they came by glide on a Mother's Day. And I had said to the Point people, when they come, I want them to stay. Well, I could see immediately after they arrived that they were not going to leave. Because the music, I could see both of them just, those Southerners, moving a little bit. I said, They know what's going on. Yeah, they know what's going on. That good gospel music. And then also I could sense that there was something there that you don't often find in politicians, because they're always in a rush, always trying to get things covered, many of them, not all of them. But I sensed something in them, that they were more concerned about people, about human beings. And that concern carried over into care, showing that care for people. And it carried over finally into compassion. See, when you got somebody that's got the power, and then they use that power with compassion, that is a lot of power and a lot of justice and righteousness moving in, and finally a great deal of love. Well, last night on the plane when Jan and I were coming back from Dallas, she had a book and I had a book that had been given to us by Nikki. We didn't even have to buy the book, y'all. And usually we buy our books. Now, Nikki, don't come telling me I got to buy the book tonight now after it's over. But no, we looked and we began to read this book. And all of a sudden, we were moved. At points, I felt like crying. And I looked around to see whether or not anybody was looking, because most times when you ride on a plane, people read, novels and all, them little books that, really don't count that much. It's like magic, because people get a quick fix off of those books. I'm saying this because I know some of you do it like I do. But anyway, we read this profound book. And all of a sudden, we gleaned from that such graciousness, such concern, such a person who would reach out into communities and give us a sense of destiny for the 21st century. And therefore, we were touched very deeply. We're going to bring that person who put that book together in just a minute, but I want to make a statement. I want you to take this back to the president. Would you please, Hilary Clinton? I am going to vote for him, and I'm going to support him. I'm putting mine out there now, so you'll know it, all right? I'm putting it out there now, so you'll know it. Now that I got my politics over, I want you to know that this person not only touches us, but stimulates our minds and our hearts and our souls. May I at this time bring to you one of the first ladies that I have ever come up on that is first. That is first. Nobody has taken the steps of Hilary Clinton. Nobody. Not like this first lady. They've all smoothly moved through. Maybe Eleanor Roosevelt didn't, but this one is unbelievable. May I bring to you the unbelievable First Lady, Hilary Clinton.
so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cecil. Thank you, Janice. Thank you, that wonderful ensemble. Thank you, musicians, for your music. Thank you, Mayor. We did the inventory after you left. All we want is a picture of you in that robe with the backwards writing. We want that for our archives, so please send me a copy. I am so pleased to be back here, both in this city that I love and in this church. I am here tonight because I want to celebrate the village that Glide is. I want all of you who are part of that village to know how significant your efforts are. On Thanksgiving Day, the President and I and all of our family were at Camp David. And it was one of those nice holiday mornings where we just kind of waking up late and going for a walk and reading the paper. And the President read about how many people you had fed here at Glide. And he picked up the phone and he called Cecil and he said, "I'm giving thanks for Glide, and I want you to know, because what you do makes a difference, not just here, but around the entire country." You know, I've been asked why I wrote this book and why I titled it as I did. Well, I wrote it because for more than 25 years I have worked on behalf of children, and for nearly 16 I've been a mother. And I have seen so many of the problems that our children face, but I've also seen the promise. And I began to worry that here in our country, a country that is built on optimism and possibility and the future, we were in danger of giving up on many of our children. We were at risk of saying to ourselves, there's nothing we can do. Look who those children are. Look who their mamas and their daddies are. Look where they come from. I don't think that's something that we can afford to do. Not only is it wrong, but it's so self-defeating, because every problem we face in America has been solved somewhere. Glide is a place that embraces problems but offers solutions, that works to give people the hope and the love and the faith that all of us need. And so when I come to Glide, I'm coming to thank you, to say that on behalf of people who may never come in your doors, we are grateful for your example. Because every one of our problems has been solved somewhere, that means we have an obligation to work together to solve them everywhere. There are many churches in America that could become Glide churches. There are many people who, if their hearts and their minds were opened up, would understand that there is no such thing as just my child. All these children are our children, and that for each of us, there is something we can do. It may be mentoring or tutoring a child. It may mean serving a meal to a hungry child. It may mean taking a young mother and child to be sure the child gets immunized. It may mean working in a school or a children's hospital or a clinic. It may mean just going next door and saying to that young single mother who's stretched so thin, let me look after your baby. You go out for a few hours and get a break from all of this pressure. You know, It doesn't have to be big and earth-changing to be important and significant in the life of a child. And it also doesn't have to be somebody else's job. It is our responsibility. And there is not a single person, nor is there any institution that could not do more starting today to help parents become better parents, to give them more economic security, to give them health security, to welcome them into the schools so that they become partners in their child's education. There is so much we can do together. For too long, we've had this false debate in America. Is it the government's responsibility or is it the family's responsibility? The message of this book is that it is both and much more. It is everybody's responsibility. And there are things that only the family can do, and there are things only the government can do, but there is much that the media and business and religious institutions and schools and daycare centers and neighborhoods and police officers and everybody else can do as well. Now, think about what it's like to be a parent today. I think it's hard. It's always been hard. But we don't have the extended family, the clan, the village there to help us like people did in prior times. I know very well that when I had my daughter, I read all the books. I really studied on this. I mean, one thing I had been all my life was a student. So I figured if I really studied, I'd get this figured out. It took, well, let's see, she was born at 11:30 at night. It took until about 9 o'clock the next morning for me to realize I knew nothing that I needed to know. There I was trying to breastfeed my baby, which I thought should be easy. I'd seen my friends do it. And I'm just looking at her, and I'm so excited about this new life in my arms, and all of a sudden she starts to foam at the nose. I thought, my goodness, my baby is dying. I start pressing every buzzer there is. The nurses come running down into my room, and I will never forget the look on this one nurse's face as she surveyed the situation and said calmly to me, "It would help if you lifted her head up." You know, all those years of schooling, all those degrees, all those things that I had done, nothing had prepared me. I needed a lot of hands-on help. And I don't know a mother or a father who does not need hands-on help, need some helping hands there to say, here's how you do it, here's what you need. If we could just in this country again recognize that for all of our talk about family values, we do so little to value families, and we could do so much more. And it's not just the hands-on instruction inside the home that makes a difference. It's what goes on outside the home. No family is immune from what goes on beyond its walls. There are those who argue that we should just be rugged individualists. Every person, and I guess every baby, for him or herself. That's not the way the world has ever worked. Children come to us filled with love and such yearning to be cared for. But so many parents, as I and my husband are, worry about how do we protect our children from what goes on outside. Businesses can help by recognizing that we have to give people the dignity of work and a fair wage and give them an opportunity to support themselves and their children. Schools can recognize, as I visited one in Los Angeles today, in a very poor community in the San Fernando Valley, a charter school where parents and teachers are working together, where parents don't feel like interlopers, where they're welcomed into the classroom, where there's a family center to assist parents in getting the services that they need. And the media has such a responsibility. You know, if you look at all the changes that have occurred since I was a little girl, the single biggest is the pervasive influence of television in how our children live, what they see, what they think. And government can make a difference, as it did today when the President signed a bill that requires television manufacturers to put in what is called the V-chip, the anti-violence chip, so that parents can program television so their children will not see what children should not see and should not be exposed to. You know, as Cecil said, my husband and I were here on a Mother's Day, and it was one of the greatest Mother's Day celebrations I've ever been part of, except I must confess I missed my daughter because we were campaigning, and it was one of the few times that we had not been together. And I thought about that because I tell a story in my book that to me symbolized really what children give to us as well as what we owe children. You know, we learn a lot if we will only let children teach us about what unconditional love is, what need is, what vulnerability and dependency with other people means. And when Chelsea was about 4, we were in church on a Mother's Day, and the minister called the children forward for one of those ministers' children's sermons that you never know what's going to happen. Everyone holds their breath. And he began to ask the children if they could give their mothers anything for Mother's Day, what would they give them? And one little girl said, the most beautiful flowers in the world. And a little boy said, a dress covered with diamonds. And my daughter said, life insurance. And so there I was, you know, sitting in the pew, in one of those moments where you're kind of wishing you weren't there and not knowing what that meant. After the service, a life insurance agent came up and tried to sell me a policy. So in the car on the way home, I said to her, I said, honey, what did that mean? Why would you want to give me life insurance? She said, oh, Mommy, so you could live forever. You know, that is the kind of love that our children can give us if we invest in them. And because we are here at Glide, I want to say a special word about the role of our religious institutions, and particularly about the need for a spiritual renewal. Not of the kind that we hear a lot about on the television these days, where it seems to consist of finger-pointing and blame-placing, but a real spiritual renewal that comes from deep within, from the well springs of love and faith that we were meant to experience. And our religious institutions have such an opportunity to help us with our children. Not only to offer services, not only to reach out and bring them into church and Sunday school, but to, by example, show them what it means to be a loving person of faith in today's world, to minister to and care for those who are unlike us, who have terrible problems, but who, in God's eyes, are just as much worthy of respect as any of us. And so if one looks at the role of all of our institutions, I think we have to ask ourselves, what can more religious people do to make sure that we do give children the feeling of comfort and caring and that life insurance that doesn't come from any human being, but from our God? The struggle to live up to spiritual values is not only an individual one, it's also one that engages societies and organizations. And it has, in our country, been the source of much debate and discussion in the last few years. I was struck some time ago by a comment made by Lee Atwater, a political strategist credited with the victories of Ronald Reagan and George Bush, but who was struck with terminal cancer when he was a relatively young man. When he was dying, he told Life magazine the following: long before I was struck with cancer, I felt something stirring in American society. It was a sense among the people of the country, Republicans and Democrats alike, that something was missing from their lives, something crucial. I don't know who will lead us through the 90s, but they must be made to speak to this spiritual vacuum at the heart of American society, this tumor of the soul. I cut out that passage and put it in a little book of sayings and scriptures that I've been collecting for a long time. I think the answer to his question, who will lead us out of this spiritual vacuum, must be all of us. Not just any institution, not just our government, not even our leaders or our preachers or our rabbis or anyone in position of authority alone. Each of us has a chance to be part of this journey that will again rejoin us one to the other. We have to be careful as we do it, though, not to permit religion to be misused to further political, personal, and even commercial agendas. If it is employed, if religion or spirituality is employed as an excuse for intolerance, divisiveness, or even violence, we betray its purpose. The true believer who proclaims that God or the gospel or the Torah or the Quran favors a particular political action and that anyone who opposes that action is wrong is asserting an absolutist position that permits no compromise, permits no discussion, permits no democracy. Religion is about God's truth, but none of us can grasp that truth absolutely because of our own imperfections and limitations. We are only the children of God, not God. And therefore, we must not attempt to fit God into little boxes, claiming that he supports this or that political position. That is not only bad theology, it marginalizes God. People of faith belong to the larger village, along with every other citizen, whether they have any faith or not. But we have to recognize that the kind of harmony that should flow among believers and non-believers alike requires mutual tolerance and respect. Now, as someone who has met a lot of the great leaders of religions around the world, I have been struck in my conversations with them that despite their profound differences, they often speak from that wellspring of love that affirms life and yearns for men and women to open their hearts like children to God and to one another. Indeed, there are many religions that say something along the lines of what the Bible says, and a little child shall lead them. When we find ourselves growing impatient, ungrateful, or intolerant, children can remind us to appreciate our daily blessings, to practice kindness, even to love our enemies. And when we pray for and help children, we help ourselves, and we find the energy to bring that help to wider and wider circles. Prayer, spirituality, religion, faith can protect children from the cruelties and indifference of the world. In her book of prayer, my friend Marian Wright Edelman looks back upon a childhood that was a marvelous mixture of spiritual joy and exuberant, though disciplined, family and communal life. She wrote about her growing up, "We black children were wrapped up and rocked in a cradle of faith, song, prayer, ritual, and worship, which immunized our spirits against some of the meanness and unfairness that exists in the world." Immunize our spirits and immunize the spirits of our children. A friend of mine and a friend of Glide's, Maya Angelou, writes in her autobiography, "I know why the caged bird sings," about the rape she experienced as a child, which left her mute for several years. Her life today represents a triumph of spirit that she attributes in part to the deep spirituality she developed as a traumatized child. And she tells us, of all the needs a lonely child has, the one that must be satisfied if there is going to be a hope of wholeness is the unshaking need for an unshakable God. There is so much we can do to give children that sense of purpose, that hope for the future. It takes a village, and it takes the churches and synagogues and mosques and religious institutions in that village to promote love and harmony, tolerance and respect. But if we build a village worthy of our children, they will not only be the ones who will prosper, we will as well. Thank you very much.
How about that, huh? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let me say one thing. Mrs. Clinton, our First Lady, will greet all of you downstairs. But we've got to do it in a way that it will work, okay? First of all, please bring all of the things that you have. Don't leave purses up here now. Anything, all right? Bring them down with you. There will be a table set up for you to leave your goods, whatever they are, the purses, so you can come and greet the First Lady. She wants to greet every one of you. And down there will be no picture taking and no autographs, okay? Please assist us in keeping the line moving so that no one will want to take pictures and no one will want to take a lot of time. We would like, she's stressing this, every place you, I want to shake everybody's hand. I want to greet everybody, okay? Sales from the books go to the Literary Grant Program of Northern California Children's, the Booksellers Association, Glide Memorial Children's Program, Oakland Children's Program at Hospital. And after you go through the line, you come back and you can purchase books, okay? But there will be people giving directions to you down there. Again, I want to recognize Dr. and Mrs. Robert Kerrigan from San Francisco State, the president of and his wife. And I'd like for all the Glide folks to know that my sister has come to San Francisco to live. Come to take care of me. I'm so glad she's here. What I wanted to finally say is, I'm so proud of you. And this is just part of the group. We got about 20 or 30 more, you know. We just keep growing and keep growing. Mr. Mayor, I tell you, Every place I go, I got to answer all these questions about you, man. They said a man has put the city on the map. I said, and it will stay there with Willie Brown. Thank you very much. To the First Lady, thank you, because we are your village and a part of the village that you're talking about. Thank you so much for coming our way and for being with us. You know, I'm going to tell you, whether you know it or not, when you come our way, we just say you coming home. Yeah. We claim you. We claim you. That's it. And finally, I want to say this. I want you to know something. Everybody that's working with your team, I mean, from one state or one place to another place, your team is superb, excellent. Thank you so very much. Now, we're going to get ready and we're going to sing a song. Come on over here, Roosevelt. And what we're going to do is you sing the song. We're going to let the children, as the First Lady and the rest of us go off the stage, let the children go right down, and you will be directed. You're going to be one of the first groups to meet the First Lady and greet her. How about that? And then the Glide Ensemble is going to come, and then we'll go row by row, and we'll get you downstairs, and we're going to all go that direction. But so just sit tight. Glide Ensemble, and when they get through singing, give them a little music, will you, John? Okay. Thank you very much. We love you.
Aren't you blessed? Are you truly blessed? I want to say that I'm blessed. Woo! Truly blessed. I have my health and I need got my strength. Thank God. Yes, and I don't know how you feel about it. I want to sleep blessed. Well, Lord, I won't complain. We're gonna say it again. I said I'm there. Woo! Truly blessed. I got legs to walk, and I got a voice to talk. Thank God. Yeah, I said I don't know how you feel about it. I want to sleep blessed. Well, Lord, I won't complain. Now listen to this. If you want to see a miracle, all you have to do is just take a look at me, y'all. I've been blessed and kept by His goodness and mercy. Right now I've got love. Yes, Lord. Before you start to complain, you better listen to me and count the blessings you give me. I won't complain. Yes, Lord, I'm blessed. We're gonna say it again. I said I'm blessed. Now look at the person next to you and say, you're truly blessed. When you woke up this morning and had the activity of your limbs, you should say, thank you, Jesus. Well, I don't know how you feel about it. I want you to be blessed. Yes, but Lord, I won't complain. Yes, Lord, I'm blessed. Now listen to this. If you want to see a miracle, all you have to do is take a look around you, y'all. You've been blessed and kept by His goodness and mercy. Right now you got love. Yes, Lord. Before you start to complain, listen to me and count your blessings. You give me, I won't complain. Yes, Lord, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I got blessed me with food on my table. I'm blessed, I'm blessed. Yeah, Lord. Yes, I'm blessed. Lord, I'm blessed. I know that I'm blessed. I could have been dead and in my grave. The Lord made my enemies, He made me gay. When I was lost and I couldn't find my way, He brought me back. That's why I'm here glad today. When I was sick and it looked like I couldn't get away, He healed my body. Right now I can tell, Lord, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Woo! Truly blessed. When I woke up this morning and had activity of my limbs, I said, thank you, Jesus. One more day. I don't know how you feel about it. I want to sleep blessed. Yes, the Lord, I won't complain. No, Lord, I won't complain. No, Lord, I won't complain. I'm blessed. Thank you.